Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the midweek. This is more though like an end of week mailbag where I'm a bit battered and bruised today, guys, because little guy today used me like a jungle gym, as little kids tend to do, but he happened to use his little digits and dig a little bit into my right eye. So I've been struggling a little bit today. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but my right eye is a little bit battered and bruised, but no big deal. Just part of fatherhood on the eve of Father's Day. Now, for this episode of the Midweek Mailbag, guys, you have sent me quite a few clips and videos and things to react to, largely through social media. And guys, it's been pretty exciting to see the community slowly grow. And if you guys need a reminder, you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, or you guys can send me an email at tjacksunpacks@gmail.com with any questions, any videos, anything you guys may want me to react to. Now, in this edition of the Midweek Mailbag, I'm going to be covering the Hamilton performance at the Tony Awards, the political assassination that just happened recently in Minnesota. Is World War III inevitable? I'm going to also show you guys some videos and clips from the Hands Off protest this week, and then I'll be finishing with just some show updates. So first, we're going to take a look at the Hamilton performance at the Tonys. So I have to shout out my friend Adam, and not the one who did the podcast art. That is a different Adam, but for bringing this performance to my attention, because I actually did not watch the Tonys in general, but I definitely hadn't heard yet of this performance. So if you guys have not seen this at the Tonys, Hamilton basically came together and did a short performance on stage, and this drew a lot of attention due to its symbolism. So firstly, here we have nearly all the performers. There was one who didn't, which I'll get to in a second, but all performers wearing black. We know, I think most of us know, that black is used artistically to represent death or solemn moments. I think symbolically what the word is on the Tony streets here, on the Hamilton streets, is that they potentially were wearing black to represent the death of democracy or just a solemn moment in history. And by the way, guys, if you haven't seen this clip yet, as I'm going through my analysis here, it's only about 5 minutes. I would highly suggest you go and check it out and see if you kind of agree with a lot of the symbolism. We also have Lafayette dressing up in Black Panther attire with the beret and glove. And we have the only person, which I mentioned earlier, was only one person not wearing black, and it was King George in this situation, played by Jonathan Groff. But one of the things that was interesting is obviously the bright red coat. People are drawing connections between that and MAGA with their bright red hats. And then also an interesting part about this and the symbolism is Groff, his only line basically in this short performance is he comes out and says, "Really?" and then da 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 da, and then basically just goes away. So that symbolism of him just coming in, not really anything relevant to say, and then hopefully just disappearing forever. There's kind of that symbolic tie to what to the Trump administration, what maybe we are hoping to see with him and his nonsense that dribbles out of his mouth on a daily basis. Then people also were referencing a lot of the quotes throughout the performance. Why do you act like you're the smartest? A Trump reference. He will never be satisfied. Another Trump reference. And then overall, kind of towards the end, the cast singing really about history having its eyes on you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is so true in this moment. Young people are looking now and will look back at this moment for sure, and wonder, how did we get here? But more importantly, more directly, you're going to have friends and family members, younger friends and family members, asking about what you were doing during this moment, or what were things like during this moment. So I think we are at a very important point, at least in American history, But our impact and our influence as the United States, really, it's a pivotal point in world history, and history does have its eyes on us right now. The world has its eyes on us as the United States, as who should be the leader of democracy. Now, my overall opinion, guys, is artists, particularly artists at this high of a level, like regardless of field. I'm even thinking of Kendrick Lamar right now in the symbolism he had with his halftime performance at this past Super Bowl. If you guys do not think artists at this level, this symbolism is not intentional, I don't think you're giving the artist, in this case, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the credit that he deserves. There was likely way more symbolism in the short performance, the short Hamilton performance, than I did not catch and did not mention here. But once again, I encourage you guys to go and watch it if you have not. I am not the biggest, show tunes Broadway fan. But I think Hamilton in this performance, it really crosses the Rubicon, and you do not need to have been a, Broadway expert to enjoy what they're trying to communicate here. So let me know what you guys thought about that performance in the comments. Now, we are moving forward to something more drab, let's say, but there was a political assassination in Minnesota. Information is still coming out, so I'm going to provide you with the information that I had and researched at the time of this recording on Saturday. So there is a manhunt underway for a 57-year-old man named Vance Bolter after the assassination of State Representative Melissa Hortman, who was the top Democrat in the Minnesota House, and her husband. So her and her husband were both assassinated, and there is currently a $50,000 reward on the table for information that leads to the arrest. Now, normally I don't mention the names of shooters. If you guys have listened for a while, you see that. But because this guy has not been caught yet, I do think it's relative to share the name in case, I don't know if someone listening to this happens to know this person or happens to know the information, but since they are not caught yet, that is why I'm choosing to share the name. Now, unfortunately, those were not the only two victims in this shooter's assassination attempts here, or success and then attempt, because State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were also shot by the same gunman. They have undergone surgery, though, and thankfully are alive at the time of this recording. That could change by the time this is posted, but all signs point to, at this point, at least Hoffman and his wife surviving, where unfortunately Hortman and her husband did not. This is being called a politically motivated assassination, according to Governor Tim Walz. Bolter was apparently, so the shooter was apparently dressed like a police officer and then came out of Hortman's house, fired at police, and then escaped. Law enforcement also found a hit list with nearly 70 names, including other lawmakers and abortion providers. At this time, guys, I do not want to speculate until we know further information. I'm sure there will be enough irresponsible media members and talking heads who will come up with conspiracy theories and try to spin this story prior to having all the correct information. But you guys know how I stand on political violence in general, on the left or the right. In my opinion, I do not think violence is the right way. I often think it is what you do when your voice and your reasons and you can't explain things with words. So I would throw this directly in there, regardless of the background of the shooter, whether they're right wing, left wing. Once again, we do not know fully yet. We can speculate, but there's not enough information quite yet at this point. But what I do want to leave you guys with in terms of this story the difference between left-wing and right-wing ideologies and political violence has been researched. This is one piece of research I'm going to share from the University of Maryland, Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice. I want to shout out, that's my alma mater, but University of Maryland does have one of the best criminology and criminal justice systems in the country. So this is a quote from some research that they have done. There has been a strong presumption among many that while left-wing and right-wing ideologies vary a great deal in content, they resemble each other in terms of their willingness to use violence to further their political agenda. However, our analysis shows that right-wing actors are significantly more violent than left-wing actors. And that was from Lafree, a professor in the Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice, and the founding director of the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, which is called START. So guys, my reason of sharing that is the media will often conflate and act like the extremes are the same. They are not. Guys, the history of this country, the history worldwide is right-wing terrorism is a far more violent threat than left-wing terrorism, okay? Now, moving on, we are going to move to a more positive story. That was a pretty heavy story there. We are going to talk about the nationwide hands-off protests. And we're just going to take a moment to celebrate an amazing day of us being able to express our First Amendment rights as Americans. And a lot of these images, guys, are going to come from the Other 98. This is a Instagram account that I follow. I encourage you guys to do the same. Not all of it is from the Other 98, but I find it a great Instagram profile account to follow for political information and updated political rallies and things like that. So we're going to start with a video from Fort Worth where you see people, it looks like women clearly marching here in their Handmaid's Tale attire with a sign saying, "We the people were not meant to kneel." Now we're going to move forward. Good job there, by the way, in Fort Worth. Moving forward, we have a video now from New York City. The reported numbers were over 100,000 people in New York City alone. I'm going to be very interested to see the total numbers worldwide or countrywide as those numbers pour in. We have another video here from, I believe this is Los Angeles. Brilliant idea. We have a large printed Constitution here. Really brilliant idea because this administration either does not know what is on that piece of paper, what is in our Constitution, or they flat out don't care. But really, chef's kiss there. And we have another amazing video from California, this time from Ocean Beach in San Francisco, where you can see people coming together in protest here in a beautiful way. Moving forward, we're going to Salt Lake City now in Utah. We got senior citizens heading out in their king's crowns here out to protest. So even senior citizens in retirement homes are tired of the nonsense from this administration, and they are getting out in their walkers and wheelchairs saying enough is enough. So overall, guys, as you can see from these videos, I'm sure you guys saw different things online. Virtually every city you could think of, big and small, including cities in red districts like Tulsa, Oklahoma, had some degree of protest. And while all this was happening nationwide, Trump was throwing himself, an elderly man was throwing himself a $25 to $45 million birthday parade. I don't know, another misspelling from our great president here and, you know, his great literacy skills. He always fact checks. He always writes things clearly, right? And on top of his little birthday party, his ego stroking event, that cost me and you, right? The money came from me and you, our work, our hard work. They took our federal money and funneled 25 to 45 million of it to stroke this man's ego. So in addition to that and him going around golfing on the American dollar, we are really right on track with this administration's goal of cutting spending, right? Cutting wasteful spending. It seems like this parade along with all of his golfing, really in alignment with what they are spewing out of their mouth about wasteful spending. It seems to be all in alignment, if you ask me. Now, on a serious note, guys, we are really at a special moment in American history. Do you guys understand how pissed people have to be to take to the streets in these levels of numbers and to organize to this degree with how difficult it is just to keep up with everyday life, you know, paying your bills, going to work, taking care of your health, eating right, taking care of your kids, all of that. People are like, we need to put this on hold. We need to address what is going on nationwide. So this is telling me we are at a critical moment, guys. And yes, the election results for many of us, me included, were disappointing. It was a moment of reflection and like, how could this happen again? But I want you guys to understand there is a lot that goes into an election beyond just the conclusion that if this person is elected, that must have been what most people wanted. From all of these protests to his lack of crowd actually at his birthday celebration, his catastrophically, historically low approval ratings, guys, people do not like Trump. They do not like what he's doing. And he has really never been popular in any sustained, substantial way. I do not want you guys to ever mistake the loud, obnoxious Fox News propagandized minority who is just loud for the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans, guys, do not like this man. I don't want you to fall for that idea that they do. And backtracking to the election, guys, only about a third of registered voters, so that doesn't even include people who could not vote, a third of registered voters in the country voted for him. We have very low voter turnout, unfortunately, in the United States. Some of it due to voter suppression, but some of it due to citizens' disengagement from the political process. But I want that number to sink in, guys. Only about 1/3 of the U.S. voted for this. And out of that 1/3, we're seeing an increasing number of people who are regretting their vote. So this is a really amazing moment. We have to keep up this momentum. We have to keep up this pressure as this administration continues to try to strip rights, tries to take wealth and transfer it to the top. We have to speak up. We have to keep this momentum going. So really a positive day here for the First Amendment. Now, next question. This was posed kind of going to back down to a negative, but the news cycle is what the news cycle is. And the question I got was basically, is World War III imminent? And if you guys do not know what this is in reference to, there's basically been escalating tensions in the Middle East for a while between Israel and Iran. And Israel recently officially launched a attack on Iran, and then Iran did respond. So there were explosions in Tehran and Tel Aviv as the conflict continues to escalate. Specifically, Israel was aiming to attack the Iranian nuclear program along with some of their top military leaders. So this attack, Iran reported at least 78 dead, including senior military officials, and 320 additional were wounded. Out of those 320, most of them were civilians. Pretty on track for Israel to injure civilians. In response, Iran has, two have been killed in Israel, in response, with dozens injured. And Iran has vowed a crushing response where, as war criminal Netanyahu, apologize guys for my mispronunciations here, but war criminal Netanyahu also responded and said more is on the way. So Trump, in line with American history, so Trump is not alone in this, but he seems to be bending the knee to Israel and said that he, of course, supports Israel, and even went further, warning Iran to agree to a nuclear deal before nothing is left. Now, guys, I want to provide historical context to this. Trump was the one who abandoned the Iran nuclear deal that was negotiated by former President Obama. I would assume that was his main problem with it, is just someone else did something, someone who he spread birther conspiracy lies about, someone who he just didn't like. So they basically took an axe to that nuclear deal, and then Iran was able to start building up its nuclear program. This has been one of Trump's biggest foreign affairs disasters, in an endless list of idiotic moves that has directly contributed to Iran's nuclear program. And then you could somewhat argue Israel's response then to their growing nuclear program. Overall, guys, my biggest fear, just speaking from a U.S. citizen standpoint, obviously my biggest fear from a humanitarian standpoint is the murdering of more innocent people. But from just a very egocentric U.S. citizen standpoint, my biggest fear is U.S. involvement in this. We should not be sending another penny to Israel to murder more people. We have already completely been on the wrong side historically with what we're seeing in Gaza, and that relationship and how we funneled money to Israel to then bomb innocent children and mothers and families in Gaza. We cannot continue this path by funneling more money to Israel and Netanyahu. And we definitely should not be putting any troops on the ground in the Middle East in response to this. But the reality is, guys, Trump is surrounded by war hawks. And war is always an opportunity for defense contractors to cash in for millions, if not billions. In some cases, if the war goes long enough, trillions of dollars. So the decisions to enter war or put troops on the ground, unfortunately, it's never just about what is best for Americans, what will keep us the most safe. That is not the entire pie chart, guys. Unfortunately, America runs on the dollar. The world runs on the dollar. So there will be financial discussions on how U.S. involvement could impact those in power. Not really how it would impact everyday Americans as much, but how, once again, can people like defense contractors potentially benefit from what is happening in the Middle East. So, guys, this tension has been rising for years. This is not new. What is new is the unprovoked attack that has now happened. And it is not a good moment for world peace. Definitely in the Middle East. Didn't mean to rhyme there. But also, guys, just hopefully this, if you guys was still thinking Trump can just control world peace, I know when he was in office and when he was running on his campaign, he was like, there's no wars under me. Guys, he is not controlling that. There is still the war that is happening, the bombing in Gaza, Palestinians being erased. We now have this. The Russia-Ukraine war hasn't been resolved. So he's not this amazing deal maker that I think a smalling segment of Republicans, but still an unfortunate percent of Republicans still believe that somehow. All right, so I'm going to finish, guys, with the upcoming schedule. So I have been posting more polls to Instagram and Facebook, so please make sure to follow. One of the posts that I did recently was about on the street interviews. You guys said you wanted me to bring that content in, so I have ordered a wireless lav mic, and I'm considering how to work that out logistically. Because one of my concerns, guys, is about recording at protests and trying to, maintain privacy for people who want to go to the protest, but do not, want them videoed or anything like that. So I'm working that out, but I do have the equipment. So this summer, I do plan to do some kind of man on the street interviews, just working through the logistics there. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, I will be unpacking the student loan crisis. That show will come out either Monday or Tuesday. I'm working on putting some final touches on that. I will then have another midweek mailbag, so please continue to send me things on Instagram or Facebook, or email me at tjacksunpacks@gmail.com. And then next Sunday, I will be dropping an episode where I have two guests on who are currently living in Costa Rica. So grew up in the United States, but are now kind of calling Costa Rica home. So you're going to be able to hear that very interesting perspective. And I also have some additional interviews to come in the upcoming weeks. So if you want to be on the show, whether it's for an interview to talk about something that you're passionate about, whether it's to debate something, please do reach out, because ultimately this show is about the everyday person's perspective, right, on issues that matter most. I think we can watch a bunch of news networks if we want to hear from the perspective of people paid $1 million contracts and are very, very wealthy, but I think those often miss the boat. So I love having just everyday people on to provide that actual everyday perspective. So please reach out if you want to be on the show. And I'm going to finish today. I'm feeling pretty good with all the protests. Feeling better today. So I'm going to throw in Rumors, I think, by Fleetwood Mac. And specifically, we are going to focus on dreams. Thank you for watching and being part of a growing progressive community. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have the time, check out some of my other episodes you can see around me. Thank you.